Polansky followed the commercial failure of Macbeth with the kinky sex comedy What? The film received almost no distribution and was later cut down and retitled Diary of Forbidden Dreams for the home video market. Polansky bounced back from these two commercial failures with a vengeance, a perverse and convoluted examination of the private eye genre starring Jack Nicholson called Chinatown.
It's some marvelous work, I think, particularly things he did over Chinatown. It was a marvelous film.
He made my favorite movie, which is Chinatown.
I also love Chinatown. Chinatown's wonderful, too.
Chinatown, where you see a figure fall down, and then you hear the gunshot. You know, they're looking at it through binoculars, and most filmmakers would have the gunshot and then the person fall down. But in reality, the way you experience things, you know, Polansky's version is more real. And an audience, I think, always accepts the truth. They always know when something is real, whether they know it intellectually or not.
Los Angeles, 1937. There are lots of guys like J.J. Gittes. They're easy to find, if you want to find them.
Mr. Gittes, have we ever met?
Well, no.
Never?
Never.
Since you agree with me that we've never met before, you must also agree with me that I've never hired you to do anything, certainly not spy on my husband. I don't get tough with anyone, Mr. Gittes. My lawyer does.
You do your job. And sometimes you find the answers to questions that should never be asked. Or you find out what happens to people who ask them.
Hold it there, kitty cat. You're a very nosy fellow, kitty cat, huh? You know what happens to a nosy fellow?
I dislike the word cheat.
Did you have affairs?
Mr. Gittes.
Did he know about it? Where were you when your husband died? You were seeing someone, too. For very long?
I don't see anyone for very long, Mr. Gittes. It's difficult for me.
Mr. Gittes, you're dealing with a disturbed woman who's just lost her husband. I don't want her taken advantage of.
The truth. I said I want the truth.
Go home, Jake. I'm doing you a favor. Come on, Jake.
Forget it, Jake. It's Chinatown.
You get tough. You get tender. You get close to each other. Maybe you even get close to the truth. Jack Nicholson and Faye Dunaway in a Robert Evans production of a Roman Polansky film, Chinatown.
Chinatown earned 11 Oscar nominations, millions of dollars at the box office, and is today regarded as one of the most influential films of its time. It put Roman Polansky back on top again. It also put him in a position to get financing for one of his most personal films and his scariest psychological thriller since Repulsion, The Tenant.
Oh, I love The Tenant because it's so sick.
The Tenant is another one of his that I like a lot.
Roman Polansky's one lone masterpiece is The Tenant. The Tenant is one of the great movies of all time about paranoia and alienation, and of course he stars in it too, and he doesn't really get that much credit as an actor. He's acted in other people's movies, small parts, but that's the one movie that he carries the whole movie himself. It's just a great, disturbing, dark movie.
Paris. On a quiet street, in an old building, a dead woman's vacant apartment is waiting. Waiting for the tenant. Roman Polansky is the tenant. In Chinatown, he exposed the dark side of corruption. In Repulsion, he explored a warped mind. In Rosemary's Baby, he examined the occult. Now, the tenant, something altogether new, altogether chilling. No one does it to you like Roman Polansky. The Tenant, a Roman Polansky film.
The Tenant completed the trilogy of psychological nightmares Polansky had begun with Repulsion and continued in Rosemary's Baby. Based on a novel by French cartoonist Roland Topper, The Tenant traces the story of an Eastern European immigrant who sublates a dreary Parisian apartment and tries, vainly, to fit into his new world. The previous tenant had killed herself by jumping from a window. Ultimately, the new tenant plays out her life as if it was his own, jumping not only once, but twice from the same window. After a highly publicized 1977 sex scandal resulted in his flight from the United States and subsequent exile, Roman Polansky surprised many by doing an apparent about-face in terms of subject matter and creating one of his most restrained and visually beautiful films, Tess. The film was based on the classic Thomas Hardy novel of Innocence Destroyed, Tess of the D'Urbervilles. Polansky dedicated the movie to the memory of his murdered wife, Sharon Tate.
I think he wanted to back the United States in some way. So we have a grave of the wife.
Tess was followed by Pirates.
I mean, even this picture, Pirates, which was a total failure, there are always moments, Polansky moments, which are just marvelous.
When Pirates failed at the box office, Polansky returned to the cinema of fear with Frantic, a Hitchcock-style thriller with a Polansky touch, starring Harrison Ford. The story of a man inadvertently trapped in a nightmare situation in a foreign land, Frantic drew upon many of Polansky's favorite themes. But as a bid for critical and commercial success, it failed to repeat the performance of his earlier fear films. In 1993, Polansky bounced back. The film was called Bitter Moon.
One of the wonderful things about Polansky is, unlike a lot of the people who are working in films today, he doesn't make movies about other movies. You know, his movies are about life and about the way humans experience things.
Roman Polansky followed his disturbing return to form in Bitter Moon with a very different type of film, a political thriller called Death and the Maiden, starring Sigourney Weaver. It was the unexpected from Polansky, which, of course, is what we've come to expect. His importance as a filmmaker and fearmaker hinges upon a uniquely unsettling point of view. All his characters try continually, however clumsily, to connect with other human beings, to break out of their isolation and to free themselves of their alienation. Could it be that his nightmarish films serve much the same purpose? Perhaps they, too, are the continuing efforts of a terrified young Jewish boy adrift in a war-torn land to connect with the rest of humanity, even after all these years.